welcome everybody to another episode of Steel and Whiskey. I'm host David Zapka, and I have a pretty special guest with me here today. I have Matt Wheelis. Matt is with the Nemetschek Group, and Matt, I'm going to let you go ahead and give the audience an introduction here. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what your role there is with the Nemetschek Group, and let everybody know who you are.
All right, David. Yes, I'm glad to be here. So again, Matt Wheelis, Senior Vice President of Strategy for the Build and Construct Division at the Nemetschek Group. I've been with the company about 2.5 years, but I've been in construction technology for most of my career, starting out in the field in construction, but pretty quickly moved into the project management space for construction. Did that for a number of years. We were acquired by Autodesk. Sorry for the mention there. Yeah, we were acquired by Autodesk back in 2006. I spent 11 years there, so learned a great deal. Moved in a variety of product and strategy roles and leadership roles. And after a few years with Leica Geosystems, part of Hexagon, where we learned a good bit about the steel business, actually, doing that because of the prevalence of total stations for getting out and placing steel and anchors and erection, that sort of thing. And then was pleased to get back completely into software here a couple years ago.
Very good, very good. So what's your day-to-day like at with the Nemetschek Group and the role that you're at now? What's a typical day for Matt look like?
It's not a lot of a typical day, I suppose, but so my real goal is to drive our business growth through not only organic, meaning helping us figure out what we should build to bring to the market and helping go to market, but also importantly inorganic means, whether that's partnerships, whether that's investments through our corporate venture capital team, or acquisitions. So looking for ways to really grow what we do and find things that would to misuse or to overuse a buzzword, have synergy with the businesses we have today. And by that, I mean positive synergies. Sometimes you talk about synergies meaning where can we cut costs, but really what I'm looking for is how do we, what can we bring closer to us that where we have a natural advantage and opportunity to win out in the marketplace.
Okay. And I should back up here. So I'm bad host. So big part of our podcast here is our whiskey, right? So it's a repeat whiskey, Town Branch. I drank it a few podcasts ago on the same podcast, but I left the bottle laying around the office here. So naturally, everybody was drinking on it a little bit, and it just about gone. I figured it was time to finish it off. So that's what I've got today. Matt, you got something special there, or what do you got for a whiskey?
I do. Actually, and I'm just now open. This will be the first bit off this bottle. This is a rye from a company called Wilderness Trail from Danville, Kentucky. And and this one is a barrel proof. So it's this one's running a little, not too stout, 50.98. You can get it up, approaching like 59. But this is a barrel proof. But so Wilderness Trail was formed in 2013, and in the same town where my daughter attended college and just graduated on Sunday. So knowing we had this podcast, I swung by the factory and picked up a bottle on Friday when we arrived.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Perfect. So yeah,
so I will pour a bit of that.
Congratulations on the daughter graduating. That's got to be exciting, huh?
It is.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, and I'm excited also for our broad industry. We have another computer scientist in the world now. So software engineer, and also one that's working on things related to the built environment. She's starting a 1-year position at the NRail in Golden, which is the National Renewable Energy Lab.
Okay.
And so from there we'll see, but she's working on one of the, decarbonization of buildings, which in transportation, which is definitely an important area that I think all of us want to pay attention to.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Exciting. Sounds like you got a great family there. So my children are a bit younger, so I've got quite a ways to go yet before, mine aren't even driving. Mine are still in elementary school. So I got quite a ways to go before we get to that point. So neither one even has any clue what they want to be when they grow up yet. But I figure we have plenty of time to get to that point yet. So no rush.
I don't know what I want to be when I grow up yet.
So. Well, I don't either. I'm still trying to figure it out it's a daily basis trying to figure it out for me. So
yeah,
that's good. So, well, so kind of get back a little bit to the topic of construction and technology. Actually, maybe we need to explain a little bit more to the audience what the different divisions within the Nemetschek Group are, right? That might help people understand a little bit. So you are in, tell me again which division you're a part of there.
So build and construct, and I guess
Build and
I'll
construct, yeah.
Talk a bit about the divisional structure of Nemetschek, because it's not really this idea that we would draw hard lines, because in the AECO life cycle, information has to move from the earliest planning all the way into operations and beyond, and do so smoothly. So we're not trying to create silos in that way. But for purposes of really focusing on the needs of a particular customer archetype, we have the planning and design division, of which you're a part. And then we have the build and construct division, which is really focusing on those who are involved in building the buildings, but also information management, involving design and into operations. And then we have the O&M division, or operate and manage, which is about the long tail life cycle of the facility, and also how it's managed, how carbon is managed, and how energy is managed through that life cycle. And we also have a media and entertainment division that is really under the Maxon brand, and focusing on digital experience of people who create games and movies and that sort of thing.
Yeah. There's probably some pretty well-known movies out there that Maxon has been a part of. Isn't that right?
I believe that's the case. I will admit I can't name them. So.
That's okay. Media, construction, build and construct, little bit of a difference there on that one. But so
if Dave tunes into this, he'll have my head, but I'll be more prepared next time.
Well, it certainly shows the diversity of the Nemetschek Group and the brands there, right? Yeah. So maybe we'll do a little more homework for next time, and we'll have that part of it figured out. So
very good.
Yeah. So build and construct, and so that's the division, and then or the different kind of divisions across the Nemetschek Group. And again, for our audience, kind of let them understand and know, within the build and construct division then is Bluebeam. I believe is one Nemetschek brand within there, and there's one or two others within that particular.
The other one in there right now is you can think of it as one or as two. So the other one is Navaris, which has a range of not only ERP but also estimating or calculation solutions, and then they have a brand called 123 Onsite, English version. Which is very much for the people in the field, for collecting information in the field, daily reporting, timekeeping, equipment tracking, and this sort of thing. So there's, that's really the build and construct division.
Okay.
Lots of people know Bluebeam Review, the desktop tool. And also Studio, the collaborative experience that's been there for some time. And the motion right now is toward a cloud experience connected to Review, and where people can really collaborate throughout not only throughout the designing process and the design review process, but it can go out into the field and complete RFIs and punch items and submittals and those sort of things for the construction execution aspect.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Yeah, I know. It's it is hard to find a customer of SDS2 who does not use Bluebeam. So it's a very well known product within the SDS2 customer base. I would say a product that people love, use it on a daily basis. So yeah, Bluebeam is a very well loved product. It's good. It's great.
Absolutely.
So
It's fantastic to get out to job sites and kind of even our job, trailers or the trailer cities that they have on some of the bigger sites, and you look around, you can kind of see your product line on the desktops, and then people will sometimes tell you, well, yeah, I start this before I start Outlook. Like,
yeah.
that's a good spot to be in.
Yep.
There are still people who don't use Bluebeam yet, so we're still working on bringing those in there.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that for our investors. There is still room out there.
Yes, I know. Everybody always thinks we're always trying to promote and all of that, but it's not always the case. So
yeah.
So tell me, let's talk a little bit about maybe future talk wise a little bit, right? So Bluebeam is primarily a 2D markup product, right? But then you've also kind of got BIM. Everybody wants to see the 3D models. That's a big thing. But from my standpoint, I don't necessarily see Bluebeam going anywhere anytime soon. Like, just because it's a 2D program, I believe it or not, I do get that question from time to time. It's like, well, what's Bluebeam's deal? When are they going to go 3D? When are they going to do this? And I don't have the inner knowledge of the company Bluebeam itself to tell anybody. I don't know. So I guess from your standpoint, where does that sit in the future? Or what role does that play in the future of AEC and building and all of that? As a 2D product and everything going to 3D, where does it sit? What's the future? What's your take on all of that? I guess.
Kind of a interesting factoid, I guess. While Bluebeam's primary use case is 2D PDF markup.
Yep.
It actually Review can read a IFC, and there also is such a thing as a 3D PDF.
Mm-hmm.
So because PDF at its core is vector data. I mean, there is raster PDF, which is like, I guess for the audience, dots on a page, right? As if it's printed. So it's just an image. But especially if you use the plugins that Bluebeam provides to the design tools, you're getting a precise raster, a precise vector data, which also can be 3D vector data. And so it's not, locked into 2D potentially, although in most markets, everyone I've experienced, there are a few leading cases where the 3D, where the model is the contract deliverable. Often we have a model for reference, a model for analysis, a model for that we're doing a lot of the work with, but also then there are 2D drawings that are the CDs, the contract documents, right, or the construction documents that are delivered. They're actually what's referenced in the general contract, the specifications and plans that they're held to. So there's a really interesting role for Bluebeam around, and certainly this is public podcast, so I won't go into anything that we would do under a NDA kind of thing, or under a customer review agreement. But there's a lot of interesting things that are going on to say, okay, how do we, given we can read the drawings, we have the 2D, we can infer a lot of information about the model itself, and then start stitching back together. So I think there's a great role for Bluebeam to be the intermediary between the CDs and the model, and to help ensure those things stay in sync, to help ensure that we understand the relationship between the two. Bluebeam Cloud can geolocate drawings, so that not only do you have the drawing, but you actually can orient that in real space and at real scale. So that's pretty cool. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Acquisition a few years ago called Project Atlas, and that technology has made its way into Bluebeam Cloud. And so, yeah, you can, basically put your drawings in Google Maps, essentially.
Sure.
So that you can then see that there, which gets really interesting on something like a highway project, right? So you have things that are not necessarily, the sheets aren't stacked, the sheets are out in the real world somehow and oriented to each other in certain ways. You still have people that print them out and post them on the trailer wall, and then orient them and fold them a certain way to fit them together so that you can see the roadway and how it goes. And so, we can do that with technology.
Yeah.
And then when you're using the mobile app out in the field, where am I? We can tell you that.
Yeah. Interesting. That's pretty cool stuff. I hadn't seen that, or I wasn't aware of some of that. So, so I think the point is here, as if we go back to my original question, like where does the 2D world of Bluebeam sit with the future? It's not going anywhere anytime soon, right? I mean, the construction is so ingrained in those 2D drawings that they're always going to play a role. Sure, we might be authoring and creating drawings from these 3D models, but they still play a very prominent role in the industry. And in fact, talking with different clients, potential clients and such, there are some government entities that still require a physical print. You can't even submit a PDF to them. You are still physically printing and either mailing or hand delivering a physical print to the city office for review and such. So if we're still on paper for a lot of that, well, then I think PDF's probably safe for a while, isn't it?
Still wanting a wet seal with a signature directly on top of it, right?
Yes. So how's you opened the bottle, you poured it, had a few sips. How is it?
It's nice. I mean, I'm drinking it neat, so didn't even put a drop of water in there. So it's running almost 51 proof. So
very good. Long weekend. So we're recording this the Friday before Memorial Day. So we have a long weekend ahead of us, right? We better pace ourselves, I suppose.
And I'm still on construction time. I start working about 5:36 in the morning. So, and it's after 4 right now. So less people think I didn't get in a full day.
That's funny. So, what else? What are some things that you kind of focus on, or what technologies or trends in the industry do you kind of look at, and are you really seeing right now, I guess?
Well, so there's a couple of vectors to that. So, a trend that let me roll back into my background a little bit here. I told you I started off doing project management software. It was in the cloud, or it was on the internet. Like, we didn't have the term cloud at the time. We're talking like 2002, 2006. So we were doing web-based project management. But what we were doing is we were kind of taking the notebook where people would do their RFIs and write them down in a log, and we would move that to the web, right? You still were looking to print things, and people were really concerned about how things printed and how reports looked and that sort of thing. So this was a and it was really adding collaborative productivity to some of those office workflows. It didn't really get to the field at the time. The April of 2010 is when the iPad really hit the market. And that in 2007, the iPhone had come out, but it's kind of a small form factor, that sort of thing. That in 2010, the iPad really came out, and that became a platform where people in the field could interact with IT in a way that made them not want to throw it, but throw it in the back of the truck or run over it, with the lull on the job site and say, "Oops, my laptop broke again." Like, Bill, that's $5. So, and we have customers that were really telling us that they're issuing, laptop, iPads to all their superintendents, that sort of thing. So that was kind of game changing in terms of this opportunity, to take information to the field, but connectivity wasn't really caught up. Getting Wi-Fi on a job site, there's been lots of attempts to lace Wi-Fi into job sites and that sort of thing that have all been, pretty challenging. But this 5G, I think, really changes the game as it becomes more and more ubiquitous, so that we have, really fast internet that's available on job sites for people to do that. And then there's also really a generational shift that's happening where, because we talk about the baby boomers and, the people, moving through and into retirement, and we have a whole generation of people who have, if you got out of college in 2011 or 2012 or whatever, you're 10 or so years into your career, you're getting to be where you're in the decision-making capacity where people are, let's call it digital natives, are becoming, decision makers. So I think there's a big change in construction is happening just in terms of willingness to adopt data, technology, understanding of data and a trust of using data to help make decisions, because now we have lots of data that's been collected throughout. So a situation is set up where we have an opportunity to really start arming the people even at the point of work. So not just the project managers in the field, not just superintendents in the field, but even people who are the foreman or even some of the craftspeople are getting all their information right off of a mobile device. And so we have this is a real opportunity around mobility, around this. So one of the things I'm tracking is how do we get to be the device, on the device in everybody's pocket, through various means. So I'd say this 5G opportunity is a big one. It goes into the idea around IoT, having connected sensors that are collecting data from the field at all times, which then starts to lead us into what does generative AI enable us to do with a lot of data that can be used to train the algorithms, to help serve up more useful information to people that are in the field, to help them make decisions, to help them understand, oh, you're working off the wrong drawing, or understanding that these two pieces of information may conflict in a way that you can't see, because we can evaluate the details of the whole job and say, your mechanical drawing and the electrical schematic may not agree. And so those are, I think, opportunities that are out there for us to help people, eliminate waste, make their craft more efficient, get more tool time, the kind of stuff that has been talked about in industry for years, but it's been difficult for technology to really help.
Yeah, sure. So
that was long-winded, but
yeah, it's a podcast. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to talk, right? So you talk about, data, big data, using data to make decisions, all that, and AI, another buzzword, not necessarily a buzzword, but AI has been, and machine learning is something that continues to, be talked about more and more and more. Very interesting possibilities there for a number of different reasons. Something that everybody's familiar with that I keep getting asked about and keeps getting brought up in conversations that I have is the Chat GPT. Have you used that?
Oh yeah.
You mess around with that.
I had it make a song about something. I think country song about Bluebeam, which is actually pretty good. Yeah.
So you use Chat GPT to make a country song about Bluebeam? Is that what I hear?
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that's a creative use of technology right there,
Right.
isn't it?
Maybe not useful, but it was. I was trying to see just could it pull these domains together,
Uh-huh.
and in a way that made sense. It actually made a lot of sense. So that it made a lot of sense. What it did, it pulled from the marketing materials. It understood the rhythm of a country song, and I think it wasn't a waltz. I think it was in more like a two-step kind of 4/4 time. But you could ask it to do a country waltz about that, and it would be able to put it to to 3/3 time and all that. It's pretty amazing. I didn't ask for the notes. I just asked for the rhyme, but the words need to be able to be put on that. So that was interesting but useless. But imagine.
So wait a minute. I gotta talk about this a little bit more. So do we have this country song?
No,
Is there a way
I
we
don't
can
have
get
it at my
to it?
fingertips. No,
Oh.
I have it somewhere. I think I put it in a Slack chat.
Uh,
I'd have to go back lots of Slacks to do that. I can try real quick.
I feel like we're gonna have to share this after the podcast now, because I'm very, very interested. I'm kind of a big music guy, so I just anything new music, and of course I'm from the Midwest, so country songs is kind of my thing too, a little bit. Or that's my main interest on the music.
Yeah.
So you've got me very curious about this.
Okay, I may have to go back to my OpenAI account and look at that.
Yeah.
I also asked the Dall-e, DALL-E, that reminds you, sounds like Salvador Dali, right?
Yep.
To give me a image of a bridge under construction in the style of Guernica, the famous painting that is about the attacks in Spain at the beginning of World War II. And it was really kind of dystopian looking, as is Guernica, but it was also pretty fascinating because it's able to do that. And I do have they're in my account as well. So I don't want to get into any kind of there are concerns I have around copyright in that context, so I won't publish them here. But I did do that, and it reminded me of Guernica, and it was clearly a bridge under construction. Then you can iterate it. Yeah.
Well, I think it's so technology is an amazing thing. It can also be misused as well, right? So you talk about Dolly, and I believe there was something on the news that I saw here recently of a I have to assume it was probably generated with something like Dolly, but it was an attack on a famous, well-known government building, and it turned out, it was spreading through the internet. Well,
oh boy.
No, it didn't actually happen. So I think technology is amazing. It has to be used correctly. We always have to be careful about how we're using it and not abusing that stuff too, right? So, and then you talk about copyright laws, things like that all come into play all the time when we're looking at this stuff. So yeah.
So but imagine, okay, let's think about the concept of generative AI and chat, natural language processing, that sort of thing. So one of the things that people in the field are there to build something, right? They daily reporting is CYA. It's kind of also PYA, a pain in your ass. People don't like to do that. They don't we're wearing gloves. We're or your hands are wet or dirty or whatever. I mean, I know if I've been working outside enough, or it's hard to use the phone, that sort of thing. So to look up information, we used to talk about being fat finger friendly on the iPad or whatever, to make it easy to look up information. But let's imagine that I could be. Remember, I said we can geolocate information. I could say I could just say what electrical drawings or what steel detail is important for connection, blah blah, in whatever, and it could bring it to me. I could understand that very easily.
Yeah.
I think, and then you could say, you can start to then abstract that back and say, okay, try to retrieve information or report on information or confirm that you've done the whatever test and that sort of thing. And then, and actually end up conversational with the bot on the site. And that would be very desirable, I think, for the people in the field back to my story about helping the project managers and that sort of thing. We haven't really done a lot, I think, in a lot of ways to help the people who actually build stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the way we could do that. Now, how do we make that information reliable?
Mm-hmm.
When you can see how challenging it is sometimes to dictate directions to your phone so that where you want to go, so the map will take you there without touching your phone because you're not supposed to while you drive.
Yeah.
Now we're trying to do this with technical information on the job site and that sort of thing. So I think that's an exciting area for us as a industry of technologists to lean into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So it so it takes the key to all that is the data also, right? I mean, there's just the more data we have, the better, more accurate, smarter we can make all that stuff. So it's big data has been another buzzword for quite a few years, but it's very true. I mean, that's what helps drive those decisions and progress the AI and the technology and all of that is all the data that's behind it. So yeah, very good. So I want to kind of take a step back here, looking at my notes here a little bit. One of the things that you and I had discussed a little bit before we actually did this podcast, we kind of discussed a little bit prefabrication. Mm-hmm. So coming from the steel world, it's very familiar to me, right? It's steel fabricators have been prefabricating steel, whether it's a column or a beam or a truss, any sort of a assembly or weldment, if you will. We've been doing that for a long time in the steel industry, but it's fairly new to a lot of other trades, right? There's some in the concrete world, precast is pretty popular. Yeah. So that's something I would consider prefabrication. But what other areas of construction do you see prefabrication happening?
Well, much like with steel in the MEP, let me be more specific, in the ductwork and mechanical sort of business, then that's at least on larger assemblies and repeated structures, that's quite common, has been for a time. Now what's interesting is to see the progress made in multi-trade and then also overall volumetrics. So whole apartment units that are being stacked up and assembled, made somewhere and then brought and stacked up and assembled, and a problem that's been solved for some time is things like there's bathroom pods for hospitals, hotel rooms, that sort of thing that are made offsite and assembled. That's relatively common today. But getting into really standardizing the way some things are made and then turned into volumetrics is including the structural steel connections around it and then the things within it, because of course the steel box can keep things rigid for movement and that sort of thing. We're seeing more of that going on in the interior, like drywall framing and interior finishes trade. Gypsum board is relatively fragile, so moving it can be a challenge. But if you can keep the unit rigid enough, that can work. So we're seeing some interesting work going on there, and a number of the major general contractors I talk to are continuing to put a lot of effort into figuring out how to manufacture more, because the availability of skilled labor is not getting better in the U.S. The last stat I saw was that in construction, this is as of last summer, but I don't think it's improved a whole lot. We had a gap of something like 650,000 workers.
Yeah.
right? In industry, in the skilled trades. So, and that's not something you can just import. You can't just let, there's a need for skill. So we can make the workers last longer by career wise by getting their work to be in a factory where the conditions are better, where the work surface is counter height, where you aren't bending over, and then also I'm so that's a definitely a trend I'm seeing a lot of work on. In the U.S., we have a challenge of geography, where we're some populated areas separated by a lot of space.
Yeah.
So hauling things around this country is a challenge that's different from maybe some other places that are more densely populated. And then an area that I think is pretty amazing is that of robotics, and automating that. And some of the early stuff you saw was robotically moving cameras around or laser scanners and that sort of thing, which is great for recording progress. But how do we use robotics on a job site? One of the things that we Nemetschek have invested in was a company in Germany that has some robotics applied to scaffolding, and helping reduce the crew of 3 to a crew of 1 for getting the things up to the scaffold. There's been some great work done in masonry, and a lot of the automation comes in terms of taking out the backbreaking labor of lifting things. And then of course there's great measurement. You talked about data earlier. This scaffold company is called Kawazo, in case anybody's interested. But an interesting thing is, if I know what's being moved up and how much is being moved down, then I get to get a pretty good sense of what our production is, because I know how many tons have been moved in a given day, and that becomes interesting data from a productivity standpoint.
Yeah, interesting. That's very interesting. So you mentioned you mentioned kind of the labor shortage and skilled labor, especially here in the U.S. Is that similar, throughout the world, kind of more populated countries or what have you? Does that change? I think I talked to a lot of people and they build differently in different countries, especially when it comes to the steel. My world, they build things completely different than they do here in North America. And it's because of, the difference in wages and number of skilled. So how does that all play into things when you're looking at the prefabrication stuff and that part of things?
Well, it's for sure the developed, let's call it the G7 or the top 20 economies in the world or something like this. They all have the same problem of not enough skilled labor. The developed economies, countries like, countries that have much larger population, lower GDP per capita, but even big GDPs, but lower GDP per capita, they certainly have less of the push to prefab, because they employing more people is not so hard to do, as opposed to maybe some of the industrialized countries where it's very difficult to do. So that math will change over time in each country. An interesting thought is, does prefabrication enable an export market for some of those countries to employ their labor to build things to a greater level of completion and ship them here? We all saw the challenges of supply chain in the COVID time. So I think people are thinking a little differently maybe about that. But if you could be relatively near, so for example, could we build things in the northern half of Mexico and ship them to the U.S. Just the way we do cars, do final assembly there and move to the U.S. I suspect there's people thinking about that. Because of the difference in wage between the two and the ability to work within the North American market, let's say, to to drive employment.
Mhm.
So yes, there's differences around the world.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, I have to point out for everybody that you are representing SDS2 there. I'm not sure. I'm
Oh,
not sure
yeah.
I'm not sure where you got the shirt, but I'm glad you wore that shirt today for the podcast. So yeah, that's very
It
good.
was a
We
gift from the SDS2 leadership a couple
okay.
years ago.
Very good.
And I will say it's one of the most comfortable, softest shirts I own. So it actually gets a good bit of wear, and I intentionally wore it today for the podcast.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe let's not tell everybody that, because now I'm going to get 100 emails saying, "Hey, I want that comfortable shirt," and yeah, I can't give them out to everybody. So, yes. Well, hey, we've been going here for a good 45 minutes. This is great conversation. I've enjoyed the conversation here.
Likewise.
Eh, what what else do you have? I mean, are there other topics that we should talk about? Are there, a message from the Nemetschek Group that you want to deliver to our audience? Anything like that?
Yeah, what I'll say is that our vision for Nemetschek Group is we're shaping the world, or helping our customers shape the world in all dimensions, so that it's 2D and 3D and beyond. And it's not just something we say, that we want to be engaged with customers. We want to be really valued and respected, and a part of what customers are doing out there. So, I'd say the invitation's open with whatever brand you're working with, to really engage with us and shape the world together. And that's our goal. So would love to hear from anybody that is interested in talking more about the construct side. And certainly, I look forward to further engagement with All Planet SDS2
Yeah.
and the other parts of the company to really, help people drive a workflow that's as smooth and open as possible across from planning all the way through to delivering beyond.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. That seems like a very good message to end on here. So, Matt, really appreciate you taking the time to spend a little time here, have the conversation with me. And
Thanks for having me.
maybe we'll have you again at a later time. So, yes,
Sounds fantastic.
thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.